guess I'll be the one to do it. We asked you a month ago. I'm just curious, is there an update on the waivers process on the two guys that you're waiting on?
No, not yet. No update. Not sure what to say on that. So not really sure of the time frame and stuff. We get a little bit of feedback from the SEC office about potential time frames and what to expect. I know there's a lot of players in college basketball, not just our two guys that are in the middle of this, but no real update, any update.
Prepare a team as you get closer to the season with a scenario where you have two of them, or you have one of them, or you have none of them. I would assume your team is a little different depending on the personnel.
Yeah, just complete transparency and truth teller culture is one of our foundations. Sounds simple, but we know other way to communicate with our players, and the communication in our organization is basically just related on truth. Sometimes there's tough conversations to be had. So this one, just being really transparent with our players. There's different ways that our roster could go this season. We don't spend a lot of time talking about it or thinking about it each day. We just try to get our team better, but we also don't hide from it. We understand that our roster can go one or two different ways this year, so we're just waiting on these waivers.
Chris, the last time we talked to you, you mentioned Rashad a little bit, and maybe guys a little bit, but with the other two freshmen that you added that were not left over from Kermit's class with Cameron Barnes and Q and all that, just kind of what does each of them kind of bring to the table, and I guess what's your relationship with Cameron Barnes, just being from your home state of Texas and being from a powerhouse at Duncanville?
Yeah, we like our freshman group. I think there's potential or opportunity for some of those guys to maybe play a role this year. I haven't shied away from telling you that I think Rashad is a talented guy and should play minutes as a freshman. But there's some things he has to do, and there's some things he has to do on a consistent basis to earn the right to do that. But he's a talented guy, and we spoke briefly last time about Gazzo. You know, guy's got a lot of potential and brings a lot of things to the table. With the other two guys you mentioned today, Cam is a talented guy. He played for a really successful and good program in Texas, Duncanville High School, and his high school coach, David Peavy, is one of the most respected guys in our sport. So it starts with he's been coached. He also played summer basketball at the highest level with George Clay and those guys, and so he's been coached. He's had some adversity in his career, a couple of injuries that took away a couple of off seasons and some months in his development, but you know, he's a talented guy, and the message for him in recruiting, and it stays same today, is just kind of run your own race. And I don't know when that will open up for him in terms of planning games, but I know if he can get a little better every day and kind of accept the journey and kind of find joy in the day-to-day growth, you know, he has a chance to be special. And Q's a guy that does a lot for us. You know, his role right now is to be ready to practice every day and to put a lot of pressure on our guys. He can really shoot the ball, so that brings great value in practice. We're going to play against guys all year long that we have to understand we can't give open three-point shots to. So in our organization, we call it hand down, man down. We don't want to have any hand down, man down threes. And one of several roles that Q gives the team right now is he's able to shoot the ball at a high rate, so it really helps us.
You talked about three different segments of the roster, the guys here, the freshmen, and then the transfers. A month further into it since we talked, how are you seeing kind of the meshing of all three of those heading into day one here?
Yeah, I think our chemistry is a work in progress, but it is going in the right direction. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. We spent a lot of time together off the court in these last 5 weeks of our preseason. Week 0 was the first week of school, getting the guys acclimated to their academic schedules, to their housing situations. Obviously, Oxford and the campus, it's different in the fall than it is in the summer. Just more people, more traffic, more energy. So that week 0 is really all about getting organized. And the guys embraced that, especially academically. We got off to a great start. Then we had 4 weeks of preseason work. We just call it week 1, 2, 3, 4, and you know, we did well. So here we are this week. Preseason's over. We're starting practice, but I think the guys have done a good job bonding together off the court. We have a long ways to go. You never really know how close a group you have until adversity hits. And just like most teams around the country, we haven't had any on-court adversity yet, so that's always interesting. But I think our veteran players have done a really good job in leadership roles. And then I think everybody in our program has done a good job in following roles. You know, like there's no leaders unless there's followers. And certainly in my lifetime, if you talk about a Tom Brady or a Tim Tebow in college or in basketball, a Magic Johnson or whatever. When you think about the great leaders, there has to be followers. None of those guys are the leaders they are unless there's followers. So we spend a lot of time with our players understanding that we have to kind of pick and choose our times. There's times for even our best, strongest voice leaders to kind of defer and follow a little bit. So with this group and this team, I have been impressed. There's not a lot of ego. There's some humility here, which is always a core value of winning. So I like where our guys are. We got a long ways to go, but I do like where we are sitting here on the first day of practice.
Chris, what do you want to learn in the next month and a half, whatever it is, before you tip off?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll talk to our guys a lot about, competitiveness and just discipline. And I like our players. We have enough talent in our locker room. We have athleticism, we have shooting, we have skill. But just like every team, it's going to come down to discipline. Like, I was trying to explain to the guys, like, everybody on this team knows how to block out. You've been coached since a young age. Shot goes up, find somebody, technique, root them out, go get the ball. So it's not like we wake up every day having to teach guys how to block out. But where we absolutely are is we don't have the discipline yet to do the right thing every single time. So what I would like to learn about this team is really where my two questions are on this group is how disciplined are we? Are we going to do the right thing time after time, regardless of score or fatigue or mood or off the court, distractions? Like it comes down to discipline. And then the other thing, just a competitiveness. I've always really enjoyed coaching competitive people where it doesn't matter if it's ping pong before practice or a sprint at the end of practice. I mean, you're either in it to win it or you're not. We have some competitive pieces in our program, but our overall just competitive mode of our team has to improve.
A little bit off topic, and I know it was a topic that was a little bit more prevalent last offseason than this one, but some of the changes that are kind of being talked about in college basketball potentially being the NCAA Tournament field expansion, expanding to more teams, and maybe the possibility of, official summer ball, so to speak, on it. What do you kind of know about that, and what's kind of your thoughts on either or, if that's ever kind of crossed your mind?
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that, but I'll try to answer the question. The NCAA Tournament, my personal view, you asked, I'll answer. I think our sport is the purest form. I think there's nothing better than the NCAA Tournament. I think March Madness is what it is. So to me, when something is pretty damn good, I don't know why we have to change it. And so I understand the need for maybe a couple more teams or this or that. But me personally, I think the NCAA Tournament is one of, if not the best sporting event in all of sports. And so my personal view is I kind of like it the way it is right now. The other question was summer basketball and this kind of stuff. Honestly, there are so many things that hit our plate every day. It's not only the rules that have changed, it's the rules that might change. And so a couple of years ago, I just quit thinking about the stuff that they give us that might change because I got more important things on my mind, trying to figure out how to win on November 6th. But there's always a constant dialogue and things changing in our sport in the summers.
Is there anything you feel needs to happen in this next month or so to feel confident going into the season?
Yeah, no question. We got to take advantage of the practices, and that needs to happen. Exactly. That's not my want. That's a non-negotiable. If it doesn't happen, then this team won't do everything that we would all like for it to do. So we have a 42-day period where we have 30 practices in that time frame. 2 of those 30 practices are going to be used for outside competition, whether it's a closed-door scrimmage or whether it's an exhibition game. So we're already at 28. The day before we have competition, are normally non-contact practices because we take a lot of pride in our players having their legs anytime they play for us, period. So now you're down to 26. We always have at least 3 or 4 inter-squad scrimmages where we bring in, SEC officials and we let our guys play against each other. So now we're down to 22. And you start thinking about the few practices before the opener on November 6th, those are going to be game prep type practices. So now you're down to about 20. And trying to get our guys to understand that, I think urgency is one of the biggest words that's really important to any successful organization or group or team that's trying to get something done. And with our guys, we got great people. We got some good players. But there's a reason why a lot of these guys individually haven't won like we all want to win. And one of those things is just urgency, understanding that every single day. I would think the average college player looks back and they say, man, we got 6 weeks to practice here. But the elite guy understands that I will never get back today. This is the first practice. We'll never get this back. And the ability to just kind of live where your feet are and just embrace every day with some urgency. And so that's something our team has to get done in the next month is we have to value team practice. These guys have done a great job in other areas of our process, whether it be nutrition or recovery or academics or training room or weight room or getting shots up at night or getting individual work in. I've been really pleased with this group. I like these guys. But this next step is team practice, and it's sacred. And, most players understand how important a game is. In all my years, I've never had a good player not be ready to play in a game. But it's getting yourself ready to practice and embracing practice, and that's really important. And a lot of our guys have never been asked to consider these things or approach practice like we're asking them. But that's really important. I think in the next month, we have to turn it into a good practice team. Champions understand there's no such thing as a bad practice. It doesn't matter if Matt Morrell goes 1 for 6 from 3. It has nothing to do whether we're going to have a good practice or not. Good practice is about attitude and effort and discipline and getting things done, responding to adversity, handling success, playing it to the whistle, fighting through fatigue, staying organized. And so, yeah, we have a real goal around here, especially year one. We're fighting time. We just can't waste a practice. And there's other teams in our league, with all honesty, maybe they can absorb or handle a bad practice. We can't. And we know that. And it's not just the players, it's the coaches, and it's getting ourselves ready to practice every day. I have a personal routine that I go through every day before practice, and I have a routine that I go through after practice. And I'm just one person in the organization, but trying to get our players to understand that practice is sacred. It really is. It's because winning. It's not my ego. It's not anything other than winning. And I know no other way to win, especially year one, unless we take advantage of these 20 time periods that we have to work together as a team.
Sounds like, my interpretation, I guess, of what you just said is building good habits. I mean, is there a method for you as a coach to go about doing that, building good practice habits when maybe they haven't existed before?
Yeah, I think, I'm not saying they haven't existed before. We're just trying to get them more consistent on a consistent basis. So we benefit from following a lot of great coaches, and not just Kermit here, which I'm on the record. And these guys have been coached, and it's an advantage to follow Coach Davis. But some of our other guys have been coached at a higher level too, our transfers. And we even mentioned Cam Barnes today, who David Peavy did a great job with. But really what we're trying to get into is just discipline, building habits, discipline. Just trying to explain to the players, like, everybody in here knows how to set a legal screen. You sprint to the defense, you put your body on them, you hold your wrist, you keep your feet on the floor. I mean, you know how to do it. And we don't need to come out here every day and spend 30 minutes practicing on that. Everybody knows that. But then you ask the guys, why don't we do it every time? It's not knowledge, it's not intelligence, it's discipline. It's doing the right thing every time you're supposed to do it to the best of your ability, even when you're tired, even when things aren't going your way. So, the way we do it is just constant accountability, whether it be in the film room or in practice coaching, or the organization sets out what we need each person to do, including the players, and then we hold them accountable. And certainly with some of our younger guys, it's a lot more, love than it is direct conversation. And with our veterans, it's a lot of just direct conversations. We all came here for a reason. And to do the things that we'd like to do, we're going to have to become a disciplined group. So that's really what we're trying to get done right now more than anything.
Chris, you talked specifics earlier in the offseason about just what exactly you wanted from your non-conference schedule, as far as, the competition, the regionality, and so forth. I know there was some pre-existing stuff already and all that, but you feel like when you establish a non-conference schedule that you've checked off every one of those boxes you want to check off?
Maybe not every box, but I do know, we feel okay about it. We feel good. A lot of work went into it. All of our coaches contributed in some way, and then Brian Berg certainly did a lot. And Stacy, who was here with Kermit, who's at Texas Southern now, really worked on that for us for a couple weeks before he took his next opportunity. So, simply stated, we're playing a lot of good teams. We have, I think, 3 championship teams on our roster, 3 teams that won their conference last year. We have, I think, 6 or 7 20-win teams. The majority, we have a lot of postseason teams. We're playing in true road environments. We're playing in neutral site, kind of NCAA tournament type of environments. We worked really hard to have some home games, highlighted by a Memphis or a NC State. We're playing teams from the Pac-12, the Big 12, the ACC, among others. We're going to some pretty cool places for our guys, whether it's Orlando or Philadelphia or San Antonio. So a lot of challenges in our schedule, a lot of different styles and coaching in our schedule, which ultimately, the biggest objective is to get ready for SEC play. So there's some things we'd like to do with our future schedules, but I think this year, with the time allotted and the situation we found ourselves in, I do think we put a very competitive schedule on the court.
Both the guys, as well as you, have kind of talked about time being the biggest enemy, with them maybe only having 1 year here at Ole Miss. Are y'all, as a group, kind of embracing an underdog mentality with the way that last year ended and them coming in and maybe trying to surprise some people this year?
I don't use the word underdog much because I just don't consider myself or anybody that. But what we do consider ourselves, whether we're the number 1 ranked team in the country, which we've been before, or whether we start the season outside the top 25, wherever we find us, we don't let any of that outside stuff affect who we are. And one thing we're absolutely committed to is not losing our chip. And we say never lose your chip. And the best players that I've coached, regardless if they're a five-star or an eval guy or have had a lot of success, it doesn't matter. Like, you wake up each day and you either have a chip on your shoulder or you don't. And certainly in our lifetimes, everybody understands, there's a reason why every team, us included, studies Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or LeBron James, the greats. The greats, I have an absolute man crush on Kobe Bryant, and this started long ago, and I've probably studied him as much as anyone. And just an unbelievable mentality. He's the best player in the planet. He's the MVP of the league, and he literally approaches the game every day like he doesn't know if he's going to make the team. And that's like never lose your chip. So never been the word underdog's never really been in our vocabulary, but never lose your chip and have that edge every day. Again, regardless if you're a top-ranked team or trying to get into the rankings or whatever it have be, when the ball goes up, we want to have that chip on our shoulders. And I think that's fair to say. It is what it is. And no one's going to pick us to be a top SEC team. You don't see a lot of our individual players in All-American list or NBA drafts right now. And that's okay, because none of that stuff matters. It's what we're going to do today and what we're going to do tomorrow, and a couple of days turn into a week. So, it's well documented. Our teams have been picked last before, and we won the conference. And so none of that stuff really matters. It's good for fans. It's good to kind of get the sport started. But we have a very high expectation here. We have a lot of confidence in ourselves. We know it's going to be really difficult, but everything's difficult. There's not one team sitting around right now thinking this is going to be easy. This is college basketball. It's an 8-month grind, and we're just excited to get started this week.
Coach, being new here yourself, how difficult has it been trying to bring together a new group of guys while still trying to adjust here in Oxford?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, first of all, you do have the off-the-court stuff. We've had families move here, husband, wife, kids. We've had, there's no denying that. That's why I said before, coaching changes are hard. There's just a lot of things going on. So what we try to do as a staff is just try to eliminate distractions. And certainly we all have personal lives too, but especially this time of year, hopefully everything's kind of in place where we can give this team everything that they deserve. And I know that's the case. It's always a challenge putting together a team that has some new players and new pieces, but when you add the fact that most of the coaching staff is new here, again, we're fighting time, right? Like, if we had just an extra week that nobody had, then we could take care of some of that off-the-court stuff, but we don't have that. And so it is challenging. I don't like the word difficult because everything's hard, but it's challenging, but it's no different than any other day. There's challenges every day. There's challenges every possession, in our game. But that's the whole deal with year one. We're just fighting time. And these guys have done a good job of embracing that. And I do feel like we got a lot done this summer in 8 weeks. I do feel like we got a lot done in our 4 weeks of preseason. I wish we had another 8 weeks, but we don't. So, it's time to tip the ball up, and we'll be ready.
Speaking of preseason, is there an exhibition that's in the works currently, or?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do one closed-door scrimmage. I think that's about three or 4 weeks into practice, and then we normally play an exhibition game about a week out. And so I know our opener is on Monday this year. So I would think, and I'll try to have that for you guys next time we meet, or it might be coming out in the next couple of days. But I think we'll play an exhibition game probably about a week before the opener. Some years we don't do that, but I've always thought the first year of the program, that's important. Let our players play in the pavilion, see how game day is all the way down from the clock and the locker room and everything like that. So I think I've always believed that the first year you build a program, that exhibition game is very valuable. In future years, maybe we go with 2 closed-door scrimmages. But this year the decision was made pretty firmly that we need to have an exhibition game so especially our new players can play in the pavilion one time before the opener.
Any more questions for Coach?
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks.
Thanks.